InfoWars, because there's a war on for your mind. It just hit me sitting here seconds before I went live, surveying the giant stack of huge NSA Big Brother news, not just here but worldwide, that there is a giant, absolutely giant awakening to the fact that we have a predatory global corporate anti-free market system manipulating our society and civilization through the media, through the culture, and attempting to really create an artificial environment to fully envelop and capture humanity from an unescapable prison. That's basically how the globalists describe their technocracy if they complete it. And we're already pretty far down the rat hole as folks begin to discover it. And we've reached that critical point where humanity's kind of waking up to it. But if America and the rest of the world discovers this, but then lays down and doesn't remove the system, it will then cement itself and roll out with the next phases of oppression. Just like Obama is engaging in 100% total classic oppression and becoming a dictator. I saw Obama on the news last night. I turned the television on because I couldn't sleep at about midnight and just turned it right back off. But it was Obama saying, in fact, I forgot to tell you guys to look for this. McBreen saw it too. He was telling me about it this morning. He said, listen, it's a conspiracy by Republicans that we ever targeted the Tea Party or anybody with the IRS. That came out in Congress. Tens of thousands of audits, harassments, indictments, FBI, you name it, of libertarians, conservatives, gun groups, pro-life groups, Tea Party groups, Army manuals demonizing them. I mean, it's all out there. And that the IRS got caught lying about it. And then now we learn the FBI blocked investigations of it. And that not one communist, progressive, authoritarian group calling themselves liberal got audited. They were all given their tax-exempt status and were not investigated. Not one. And that's on record. He gets up there and says, listen, you're going to keep your plan and the price is going to go down. And you can keep your guns, all of them. We're not coming after any of them. It's a lie. I'm not going to hire one lobbyist. And I'm a Peace Prize winner, so everything's fine. On and on and on. And then he said, oh, we're not funding al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria. Now it's all admitted. I mean, this is such incredible lying that it just becomes bizarro world. And then you realize they're psychologically doing this on purpose just to totally break us. Where he stays in office, he gets away with everything, and then that's just the way it is. People think just because all this is coming out that it's a total victory. No, it's not a victory if we don't push it all the way through and bring them to justice. If they can just flaunt the law and just run around in front of everyone doing whatever they want, that is their revolution against due process, their revolution against checks and balances, their revolution against freedom and equality. Because there is no equality when they've got all these laws that are unconstitutional they throw at us, and then they break all the Bill of Rights, all the Constitution, all the common law, all the common sense, nakedly just running around engaging in inventing new forms of corruption. So big, so huge. I mean, really, it's been said many times by many a famous crook that if you're going to steal, steal big. Because the system's geared to bust little crooks. But if you steal $1 billion or $100 billion, they make you the head of Goldman Sachs. If you steal $100 trillion, they make you the head of the IMF. Or they make you royalty. I mean, they put a crown on your head. If you're a terrorist in Saudi Arabia, before it was Saudi Arabia 100 years ago, then you take over and kill everybody, they make you king. I mean, that's really the truth here. So we're being conquered, folks. You need to understand that. 5 to 7 Eastern, where we also cover the developments that are happening over the weekend and looking into the new week. I always say I'm going to do this, but I've got to do it, and then I will open the phones up and try to take as many calls as possible. Let me just start in no particular importance. It's all important with the headlines. Let me just read you these headlines. Protests planned against last-minute Bloomberg push for mandatory flu vaccines. And this is being reported by the Associated Press. NYPD beat family and killed pet parakeet. And they're after the birds still. I've got another one here. New York City is moving to kill the snow owls. So I guess they're after the birds. Colorado 6-year-old suspended for kissing a girl on the cheek, even though she liked it. Ladies and gentlemen, there were some of the boys in first, second grade, third grade that didn't like girls. I was not one of them. I like to kiss them. They like to kiss me, and it's not bad when children like each other and have puppy love. And they're now trying to make sexual harassment wanted advances. Sexual harassment is unwanted, repeated advances, and we're going to be going over that. But this is the weaponization of the schools to put everyone into a total system of control and demonize normal activity. I can't tell you how many times I'd be walking by and kiss a girl on the cheek, or they would kiss me on the cheek. Or, you know, want to hold my hand out at recess. And sometimes we would sneak behind the jungle gym. I mean, this is such evil. Of course, most of you out there listening did the same thing, but it doesn't matter. The nanny state says dodgeball's banned as well, and then tag, and then chase period, and now walking fast is banned. This is the total prison grid. Okay, I've covered a few articles there. Continuing here, here's the big stack I'm going to go into in great detail today, but let me just give you the headlines right now. Right wrongs. Over 500 world-famous authors sign anti-surveillance petition. What they should all do is write articles and books against Big Brother. That's how you really bring them down. But 500 world-famous authors from across the political spectrum are against the tyranny of the surveillance state. World of Spycraft. We told you this 5 years ago. We broke this. I have Jakari Jackson digging it up. We actually broke this 5 years ago. It broke in alternative media 3 days ago, and then in the New York Times yesterday. Or today. So there you go. No, I guess that is the 9th. So that's yesterday. It is the 10th on this Tuesday edition. So there you go. World of Spycraft. NSA and CIA spied in online games. Yes. And they tried to recruit agents in there. Even though it showed they didn't really find anybody real, it didn't matter. Well, they found terrorists, they'd find themselves. They have to stage the terror so they can be the heroes and make us slaves. Here's another one. World of Spycraft. NSA and CIA spied in online games. Continuing. We told you Connect came out to spy on you and be a government tool. Just like the FBI a few days ago, quote, allowed the Washington Post. Talk about kept media. Allowed the Washington Post to publish that they do indeed turn on the cameras in your computer without warrants. Folks, they were using warrantless data from microphones and cameras 15 years ago. It was coming out in court. I told you the DEA has total connection to the NSA and all the grids, and that they're using it without warrants in court. That all came out 3 months ago, 4 months ago. The truth is, this stuff's all hidden in plain view. And the truth is, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, yours truly, and our whistleblower connections in 18 years have been galaxies, not light years, but mega light years upon mega light years. Millions of light years ahead of all this. We've absolutely laid everything out, and now you notice everything we told you is coming out exactly as we said it. Remember that. And they allowed, oh, how nice of them, the Washington Post to break it. Oh, the Washington Post broke it. Oh, the New York Times broke that. These interactive game platforms are spying on you. Will they break that penguins live in Antarctica next? Will they break that Hitler had a little stupid mustache? Maybe they'll break that Jesus was from Galilee. Or that Caesar was assassinated. Maybe they'll break that Obama's a big fat liar. I mean, and I'm not even in competition with the dying dinosaur media. It's just one has to marvel at how pathetic they are and how they all fawn over each other and report 20-year-old, 15-year-old data that the alternative media broke decades ago as if they are reporters. They are idiots. Take USA Today, 3 weeks after Infowars.com and StoryLeak.com broke it, about these hubs put up everywhere under Homeland Security to steal all your data without warrants. Seattle turned it off the day we exposed it, they said. And I said, that won't really be turned off. That's a military operation to lie to the enemy. We're the enemy. Then it turned out they didn't turn anything off. They're not going to turn fluoride off in the water and all the other stuff they put in. They're not turning the GMO off, and they're not turning off the murder of you and your family. You can be absolutely assured of that. And all you cowards that work for the system have got to do is go research everything I'm saying and find out it's true. And you'll still give your kid fluoride and still give them vaccines and still do everything because you are cowards and you cannot admit you're under attack. You want to imagine you're on the winning team. Now, I know a lot of people in the system are awake and don't know what to do. And quite frankly, I don't have all the answers either. I mean, we are facing something bizarre. I'm sorry, I just hit one article and stopped. Let me just keep giving you headlines here. So, Rockefeller attaches cybersecurity bill to National Defense Authorization Act. Guys, will you pull up Senator Rockefeller says we'd be better off without the internet? That's on YouTube. I want to play that clip later. This is the guy that said we'd be better off without having the internet. Yeah, the DARPA boys had you design it to totally control and surveil, but we're using it right back at you because any tool can be used back and... Oh, you kind of figured out the algorithms that we're going to absolutely smash you because of the instinctive life force of humanity. The more you attack us, and we've been down for a while, the more it's going to boomerang back on you when we finally bounce up. Your only way to win long-term is to release the bioweapon now and kill everybody except a few thousand of you. And you know that's not going to work because you've done the breakdown that your own minions, before they die, will take you out. And of course, that's the key. If they release the plagues they've got designed, a whole bunch of them, that kill almost everybody, 99% conservatively, recombinant mouse plagues for Homo sapien sapien, Homo sapien tyrannus will not escape Homo sapien sapien in the death throes. You will be taken out. So I would suggest you back off right now because everybody in the establishment will still kind of halfway listen now and go, well, he's been right about everything else. Maybe we should look into this. Look, you'll believe it if they release it. So just remember this transmission then. And then you know what you've got to do. And some would say that's terrorism, that if the globalists, eugenicists release bioweapons and are killing everyone, killing billions, that we have no right to fight back. And you're actually right. I'm politically correct. You should, when you're dying in the CIA, FBI, federal agencies, banks, the establishment, the universities, when you and your family are dying, you shouldn't try to do anything against those that did it because they'll have some made-up story of why it's happening, even though 2 weeks before they'll all disappear to bunkers and ships. And so you should take your children out in front of the Capitol and let them die with boils all over their body in a sacrament to the world government. There. Don't resist when they release the bioweapon. Submit and die with pleasure. There you go. Now I'm politically correct. Now we've got some, what do you call it? Now we've got some fairness doctrine where I speak for the establishment. I'll speak for liberty and humanity, and then I will give fair time and speak to them because they're the ones that built this sophisticated system. Doesn't that prove that they are allowed to do this to us? You didn't build anything. You sat there using the intelligence of the native humans and then by trial and error having good free humans with the spirit of creation in them build things believing it was for one thing so you would then put it together like a Lego set to build your larger design. And we've now reverse engineered it. Did you not think the spirit of humanity that took us this far, the survival instinct in all of us, would start emerging and analyzing your entire attack profile and then discovering that you've all written books about what you've done to brag to your other criminal cohorts? Did you think that there wouldn't be organic resistance that would rise? Oh, you predict that too. But did you think it would be more vicious than you? Did you think that? Did you think it would be fearless because you're cowards? Did you think it could all be bought off like you were bought off by the devil, your father? Now, when we come back, I'm going to continue here. So Jay Rockefeller wants to bring in the total Homeland Security, legalize all the illegal evil under the new Defense Authorization Act. Why not? A couple of years ago, they put it the 2011 one. 2012, they passed in 2011, December 31st, that they could secretly arrest, torture, and kill anybody they wanted. So why not just legalize all the NSA spying in that? So that's just some of the other news. Google wants microphones in your ceiling and microphones in your head. That's mainstream news up on Infowars.com. World's leading authors state surveillance of personal data is theft. Well, does it matter what Mr. Wordsworth says? The state is God, and they tell you to shut up and drink fluoride. All right, ladies and gentlemen, getting into the news, continuing here. Let me give you some more headlines. Reagan advisor, market valuation has lost every anchor to the real world. That's from Zero Hedge, and we're going to be playing that clip coming up. The current malaise of news data and spin is meaningless, David Stockman tells Bloomberg's Tom Keene, adding that markets are exhibiting the kind of speculative froth you get at the top of a cycle where valuation loses any anchor to the real world from earnings or the prospects of the economy. And they go on in the clip we're going to play and analyze. They go on in the clip that's up on Infowars.com and actually admit, well, it's totally rigged, but the Federal Reserve sets the parameters for the stock market to then have this false reality. But the stock market's dominated and predominantly owned and steered by the big 5 or 6 mega banks, who are the private shareholders in the management group of the Federal Reserve that's private but quasi-governmental, and which Greenspan famously said is above the law and Congress cannot affect, even though Congress has the power of the purse and created the Federal Reserve. So they're just telling you the Federal Reserve is dictatorial, the president is dictatorial, but Congress, it doesn't have any authority, and the individual has no authority, even though the individual in America is at the top of the pyramid. Now, granted, they've dumbed the individual down so that the individual is a laughable quantity on average, but you can rehabilitate the average individual very quickly once you can shake them out of the daydream spell of mind control and low brainwaves, low consciousness on record that the general public's under, that's induced by dinosaur television, by establishment state-run media that is all designed and timed to be vapid and moronic and to stimulate lower areas of the thought processes, to make you a bestial creature. Instead of reaching for the stars, they have you staring down into the amoeba-infested swamplands. So, there it is, speculative froth that you get at the top of a cycle. And, of course, when they plunge this cycle again like they did 5 years ago, but it'll be 5, 6 times worse, I predict, when it finally goes down. It could be a month from now. It could be a year from now. Probably going to be the middle of next year. We're already in a depression, recession, depending on where you are regionally, globally. But that's why they're getting all the armored vehicles and storable food ready, and the rich are fleeing to, rural areas around the planet with armored redoubts. Private security firms escape chopters, copters on the roof. I mean, this is what they're all doing because they have created such an unstable fraud where you have unreality in sectors they control, and then we, living out in the real reality, bombarded with all their fake statistics, all the rest of it, have to live under their apartheid system of the New World Order being above the law, being exempt, having diplomatic immunity. Think about how that's the ultimate form of discrimination, where if you're a Rockefeller, you're a top Rothschild, you're a member of royalty, you're a member of the UN, from a security guard up to the highest person, you can say diplomatic immunity. They've caught in New York and Houston and all over UN people with little kids in the vehicle, drugs, slaves chained up at their house, dead bodies at their apartments. Nobody gets in trouble because they are royalty. We are slaves. We are serfs. Well, here I am to tell you, I'm part of the slave rebellion, 2013, against tyranny. I want freedom, and I want my rights, and I'm going to take them back. You got it. Again, first-time callers. I had open phones yesterday. I want to hear from first-time callers from all over the world. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to try to just hear your point or your question and to try to not interrupt and then let you finish. and then I'll move on with my comment into the next caller. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231 is the toll-free number. And again, if you've ever tried to get on and you can't, this is your chance, 800-259-9231. Then after we take some calls and cover some other news, I'll actually play that clip of Reagan Advisor. Says market valuation has lost every anchor to the real world. That's the point. Obama went up on the news last night, and we're going to play this clip, and said in a speech that the IRS never targeted anybody. They never targeted the Tea Party. That's just a lie. Doesn't matter. It's admitted in Congress. They've been caught perjuring themselves in testimony, the head of that division. It doesn't matter. She got a golden parachute and just retired on taxpayer money. It doesn't matter if they use the FBI on people. I mean, this is real persecution. And his answer is, we never did that. So that his idiot supporters will sit there and actually believe it. Well, they're not believing it. I mean, they've been fooled about 100 times. And I want to tell Republicans something, too. Shame on you if you go to these Republican Party events and they shun libertarians and constitutionalists and real patriots, and then you play along with all the local blue bloods. It's time to throw all the blue bloods, all of the type of people out there like Karl Rove completely out of the Republican Party. And it's time for the Democrats to try to bring back old-fashioned Democrats like we saw in, Thomas Jefferson's days or whatever. We do not want people in there that are hardcore fascist, using socialism as a tool of social control, but exempting themselves from all the rules and setting up fascism on top of it to extract and literally mine the culture. As Dylan Ratigan said, and then got shown the door, and his contract not renewed, even though he had the highest ratings in the morning or daytime. See, it isn't about ratings, folks, in controlled media. It's about pushing the party line, because at the top, it's a rigged economy. This is not capitalism. And then they demonize what's left of capitalism that still makes us one of the most profitable, prosperous countries compared to the rest of the world that's already fallen to tyranny. They then demonize that, our life raft, as the reason that we're in the situation we're in. And they used England as the model to pass Obamacare, when Obamacare is not even the same thing. It's even worse. And England has one of the worst socialist healthcare systems in the world on record. I actually watch parliamentary debate. I actually read British newspapers and UK newspapers. I actually have people that I know that live there. I've been there many times. I'm informed. I know how hellish it is. I mean, they're there to kill you. They're there, if you've got a pneumonia, to not give you treatment for a month, and then you die. By the way, this is not really on the news. Every time there's some fake flu like H1N1 that's really weak, and then they've got something in a special vaccine they want to get into your body, a bunch of different microplasms, they hype it up. But when it's a real killer viral flu or killer viral pneumonia, you will not hear about it. I know personally 2 young people, one 35, one 34. And then Rob Dew has one of his best friends, is one of his wife's best friends in New Jersey, 34, died of viral pneumonia. Boom, in his sleep. Just a few days ago. And let me tell you, it's weaponized, ladies and gentlemen, and there's no vaccine for it. In fact, the big Canadian government study that came out 3 years ago admitted the H1N1 vaccine doubles your chances of getting the regular flu the next year and other diseases, other pathogens, other airborne bacteria, viruses, because it destroys your immune system. It annihilates your immune system. And I'm not against Western medicine. I'm against the corruption of it with a eugenics Trojan horse within it. Let's get that straight. What, you're against vaccination? I'm against big pharma known to run secret testing in Germany, England, and the United States, Mexico, Japan, you name it. All the same big companies in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, right through now. It came out they did lethal testing in Huntsville prisons in East Texas that killed people, including jail guards, in the 80s and 90s. I mean, that's just one example that's been in the Houston Chronicle. And the only time they would stop it was when it would get spread into the town and kill a bunch of jail guards' families. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, they're doing all sorts of stuff. Bayer Pharmaceuticals. I only use this because it's a well-known example. For 11 years, knowingly shipped out Factor VIII for hemophiliacs that they knew had HIV and 3 forms of hepatitis in it, a death sentence. Guaranteed you're getting HIV. Guaranteed you're getting hepatitis. And the documents came out in the French courts. Nobody else went after them. Where the executives were saying in the meetings, well, there are too many of these hemophiliacs. And I'm supposed to take my kids to the doctor with Big Pharma, all of them, Eli Lilly, Merck, all of them, Bayer, I mean, Nazi companies, folks. And I'm supposed, beyond Nazis, proto-Nazis. And I'm supposed to go to them and trust them and roll my sleeve up. When it turned out the H1N1 did have a, quote, virus tracker in it, and that they'd actually put it out as a viral simulant the year before in vaccines. And that came out in the literature, and no one even, and I don't even understand it, it's so sophisticated. But, I mean, they're doing some really sick stuff with us, okay? You don't just think they're putting fluoride in the water. You don't just think they're feeding us GMO to dumb us down and hurt us on record. Yeah, there it is. There's the article, Mercola.com. Bayer sells AIDS-infected drug banned in U.S. and in Europe, Asia. And it says, recently unearthed. That was back in 2006. Well, yeah, Bill Clinton was one of the main suppliers of the blood. They just kept selling it after it was banned here. They would sell drugs in the Arkansas state prisons. And it was like vampires. They would let people give blood every couple days till they would actually shrivel up and die. I actually had the doctor that was working in the prison who went public. They firebombed his private practice offices. And they would have all these drug addicts in there giving blood every couple days until they died for the drugs. And then they would fence the blood, knowing it had HIV, because that's what they were looking for, to a Canadian company that also got attacked. The Hemophiliac Society exposed it and got attacked. And they would ship it up there to Canada and say it was Canadian certified Red Cross blood and then ship it out. Because it was key to get the infected blood and then mix it in the larger batches to then be rendered down to the platelets and the loving Factor VIII. So it was a loving gift, on record, premeditatedly, for the children. Well, I'm a Democrat, and I'm the first black president. Doesn't that make it okay? There are too many hemophiliacs, aren't there? I mean, that's why I've gotten a little warped and a little sick about all this, because what I'm telling you is 1/10,000th of what I know on record. And if you're a radio listener, we're putting articles on screen as I say this. It's not even pre-planned. They're searching whatever I say and pulling it up. Exactly what I told you. They want you dead. Can you get that through your coconut brain? Can you get it through your walnut brain? Can you get it through your Easter Bunny brain? I don't know what brains people have got out there. Do you have any gray matter up there? Because our government, with the British government, created Lenin and Stalin and Hitler. Didn't say they ran them. They created them on record. That came out in congressional testimony. I'll go to your calls. Some of the other news, big news I've got here. Christians are being burned alive, beheaded, crucified, tortured to death, and imprisoned to die in small containers all over Central Africa, all over the Middle East, and all funded by Saudi Arabia and our disgusting, murderous, criminal, hijacked government. And that article out of the New Americans up on Infowars.com. We have a bound piece on that I want to queue up because we're going to play that in a moment. But here's the article actually out of the Washington Times. Lawmakers see false narrative of Obama as a terrorist fighter. Folks, Republicans, you have been supporting these fake wars with al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria. Now, some of the junior Republicans, Tea Party Republicans, are waking up. We've put out the talking point, which is a fact, for 4 years about Libya, 3 years about Syria. It's come out. I mean, there's videos and photos every day. The main armies wear al-Qaeda uniforms, fly al-Qaeda flags. They even have flags that aren't even al-Qaeda. They call themselves like basically super Al-Qaeda. They call themselves Osama bin Laden Al-Qaeda. In fact, I'm on Infowars.com right now. If you guys punch up my screen, I can actually show them. I've studied this before. I'm going from memory. I believe that is actually an Al-Qaeda brigade Al-Qaeda flag. A bin Laden brigade Al-Qaeda flag. But you can type those into the search engine and pull them up and look, and then just watch the news. Even CNN will go, the valiant fighters, and it'll show them with the flags, knowing the average person doesn't know even what an American flag is, pretty much, or a state flag, much less an Al-Qaeda flag. And I'm looking at Al-Qaeda bin Laden brigade number 7 or number 14, and videos of them throwing little kids off 5-story buildings and blowing up churches. And I mean, it's just incredible. So many of them. And the good news is at least some of this is now coming out. But that's why I'm so angry at the TSA, because I know they're a federal rollout to condition us for martial law. And I know it has nothing to do with fighting Al-Qaeda. And I'm just like, man, let me fly where I want. This is internal currency capital controls. You're being set up to roll out martial law and to keep people from leaving the country during a collapse. And that's now all admitted now. So let's just be honest what this is all about. Let's be honest what all of it's about. The military trains to take on the Tea Party. They don't train to fight Al-Qaeda now. And by the way, let me be clear. I don't say Al-Qaeda works for the Western governments. It is created, steered, and funded like a Frankenstein they turn loose to scare the village into submission. Do you got that? They drive up. They got a wind-up toy monster. They let it go down the street, and then they'll blow it up later if they want, because they got a whole factory of them. That's what Abu Ghraib and all these things are factories to create real Al-Qaeda and to recruit double agents. I mean, it's just sick. In fact, it's come out that at Camp X-Ray at Guantanamo, they have, like, Army psychiatrists at the CIA part of the base. Langley, Virginia will be watching this video, because this is not public what I'm about to tell you. Some of it came out, but I confirmed. They come in and tell them, we're actually Muslim, and Obama's actually a Muslim, and we want you, brother, to go infiltrate and take over. And then they go, here's a message from your other leader 2 years ago who left. See, he's doing well now, fighting jihad. And they actually then go, thank you, we're going to bring down the infidel. And then these mind-controlled nutballs, because they're culturally mind-controlled, perfect for the globalist, are then sent out to do. I mean, it's so sophisticated, ladies and gentlemen. It's so sophisticated. And they get them addicted to high-tech synthetic drugs and stuff. They got different ways of breaking them. And that's just one of the black sites. The Camp X-Ray has a sub-CIA base in it. You can look that up. That's confirmed. They've got hundreds, not 30-plus, you know, at Romanian horse ranches and, you know, under shopping centers and just the literal laboratories doing hellish stuff. Because I want to explain this to you. They like torturing people. This is where you can legally, it's not really legal, but they say it's legal, do unspeakable things, including torture people's children in front of them. And it's all this yuppie scum, folks, who really get off on they're doing this for America, but really they just like to torture people. And they're coming for us. You need to understand that. They are coming for everybody. But we've blown your cover. We've exposed you, and most people in the government, by the way, CIA, FBI, military, you name it, hate you and now know it's all true. Their compartmentalization's blown. They know the truth. You're in deep trouble. We're going to go to break and come back with calls, but here's John Bowlen's report on Christians being burned alive, beheaded, crucified, tortured to death, and imprisoned by U.S. government-trained, commanded jihad al-Qaeda brigade forces. Here it is.
The mainstream media and our elected corporatized politicians are completely ignoring a worldwide phenomenon: the growing numbers of murders and incarceration of Christians worldwide. A taxi driver was beheaded by Islamists in Egypt because he had a cross hanging in his windshield. The ancient churches in the Syrian city of Saddad were destroyed, along with the lives of 45 Christians by U.S.-supported opposition military. At least 280 dead Christians in the Central African Republic after Muslim ex-rebels slaughtered them like chickens with machetes. 50 Christians burned to death in their pastor's home in Nigeria. According to the Christian charity Open Doors, in Eritrea, located in the Horn of Africa, Christian men and women are being held in underground dungeons, metal shipping containers, and military detention centers. And in North Korea, 8 people were killed by machine guns at a local stadium in the city of Wonsan, while a crowd of 10,000 people, including children, watched the killings. Back in October of this year, InfoWars reported on the pre-deployment briefing of Fort Hood soldiers that were told that Christians, Tea Party supporters, and anti-abortion activists were a radical terror threat, and that anyone found to be supporting these groups would be subject to discipline under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. From a speech given by John Adams to the military in 1798, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Due to the interest of time, I've barely scratched the surface of atrocities endured by Christians globally. For Infowars.com, John Bound reporting.
That's right. Millions of Christians have been killed in globalist-sponsored operations by the United Nations and others, and it is an atrocity. I'm against it when innocent Muslims are killed, innocent animists, innocent agnostics, though they're never really killed. They're always running things, the atheists and people. And it's just hell on earth what's going on. And, of course, you know about Hitler and all the religious groups he persecuted. The Soviets was even worse. Mao was incredible, 80-plus mil. According to Chinese numbers, 60-plus mil according to CIA numbers. They should know they helped put him in 1949. That was declassified a decade ago. We'll be back with your phone calls, a ton of news straight ahead. Corey, Jared, Alice, Mike, stay with us. Infowars.com is the tip of the spear in humanity's awakening. Stay with us. And again, he told us about this. It's not that I doubt it. I just can't confirm it, so I didn't have him on. Coast to Coast AM, John B. Wells did, who is in studio tomorrow. And so now that it's broken and out there, we're going to hear what he has to say coming up. Briefly, I'm not going to plug a bunch in this hour, but we are listener-supported. You can get 5 months free right now at prisonplanet.tv and see all my films in high def, see live events, see the nightly news live, and support the operation. I want to thank all the members of prisonplanet.tv. And you can get a double discount right now. You sign up for a month, it's $5.95. You get 11 memberships for the price of 1. We have that described on the site. You can share it with 11 people simultaneously that can log in at any one time. So it's really more than 11 people, you and 10 others. And then you can sign up for a year and get 11 memberships, but get 5 months free. You basically pay for, it's like 6.5 months is what you pay for, and you get 5+ months free. So that's all available right now. We only do it during the Christmas season every year. So please go check that out today. And we've really revamped and expanded prisonplanet.tv. As you've seen, had all the reporters, researchers, really upped our games. I want to thank all those that supported us in the last 11 years with the site. But now it's something I'm proud of. So thank you all for your support and great job to the crew. Give the gift of prisonplanet.tv. Infowarsnews.com will also take you there to friends and family. Just give it on an e-card and say, here is your prisonplanet.tv membership. You can give it to 10 people for $5.95, and, of course, yourself. Prisonplanet.tv. And then lastly, we're rolling out my own supplement, formula, nutrient system, whatever the best research is, whatever the best quality is. I can tell you right now, we pay 3, 4, 5 times for our ingredients what leading competitors do. I'm just blown away by how bad it is out there with all the entire InfoWarsLife.com line of products. And there's now 4 products. The Southern Mexico, Chiapas, Arabica shade-grown mountain coffee, my personal favorite. People are now getting it. I put out a promo video on YouTube, and I was looking at it, and some people were criticizing it, but a bunch of folks said, no, I got it. It isn't hype. This is incredibly good coffee. Yeah, folks, I could have come out with coffee years ago. And I got approached by a bunch of companies to do it because everybody, does their own brand of coffee. And I said, no, this all tastes like crud. I said, how about this stuff I like that comes from Southern Mexico? It took me 2 years to finally get a connection to the farmers down there and actually get it. This is beyond fair trade. This is right to it. And, it's not hype if it's true. It's no brag, just fact. As a famous Western actor said, I forget his name. The point is that it may not be your favorite. It's my favorite. And everybody that tries it goes, man, that's really a robust, delicious tasting, but not acidic. And it doesn't give you a headache or make you super, high. It has a caffeine, the way it's connected to the oils, that just gives you a nice, long, relaxed, well, high. Let's be honest with what coffee does to you. You can see the promo video about it at InfoWarsLife.com. And you can also find the Survival Shield, proprietary nascent iodine, the new Fluoride Shield that pulls that out, and a bunch of other heavy metals and toxins that has 6 ingredients that work together, and the Super Male Vitality that will sell out in the next couple of days and is about 40% less than the leading competitor that uses the same ingredients, but they use dried herbs. We use the wet herbs that cost about 5 times more. So you get the highest quality product, and we only get enough of the ingredients of one of them to put out a few thousand bottles. That's why we won't have a big shipment until 4 to 6 weeks from now of the Super Male Vitality. And your purchase makes this transmission possible. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. All right, I'm going right to your calls when we come back in 1 minute in hour number 2. Got the clip where Obama says they never went after the Tea Party. When it came out in court and Congress, they did. We're going to get into a bunch of news about a battle over the North Pole between Canada and Russia, a bunch of new NSA news, forced inoculation coming in New York if we don't stop it, all this and more. Plus, speaking of Antarctica and the Arctic, we also have record cold temperatures in Antarctica, 135.8 below zero. That, of course, is the global warming. We told you a few years ago the sun started dimming, which it does. It goes through cycles. And we said it's going to get cold. I'm not a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon. Of course, all the scientists said that's what would happen. They weren't on the payroll of the government. They want a carbon tax, folks, period. Coldest temperature ever recorded on the planet Earth, by the way. So there you go. That means we're warming, though. Okay, let's talk to Corey in North Carolina. You're on the air, my friend.
Hey, Alex. First-time caller, but sort of long-time listener. I've been listening since 2008. I met you at Bilderberg in 2012, and I entered the Paul Revere contest this year.
Well done, Lord Vader.
Yeah, thank you. You actually got me active when I saw your report on fluoride, and I felt like that was kind of the easiest way to take action locally. And then personally, I really experienced... I guess you call it an expansion of awareness after I stopped drinking the fluoride, and it kind of helps you see how we have been mind controlled and manipulated with the just the system at large. I mean, I know that's kind of broad, but
well, I mean, sodium fluoride and its other fluorine derivatives are a hardcore drug. They're the main ingredient in the whole serotonin reuptake inhibitor family on record. And it's an accelerant, a stimulant, a adjuvant is the proper word, a turbocharger for all the other chemicals they're adding to the food and water. And yes, you get high getting off fluoride because you're meant to be high on life. And then you add real nascent iodine to it. Oh, let me tell you, it is absolutely... I want to drink and stuff just so I'm not so high on life, but I've not been doing that, so I'm really high on life. I mean, that's why we dumb ourselves down, because being clean... being clear-headed is the ultimate high. Sorry, go ahead.
You're right, and I got like 5 or 6 bottles of nascent iodine. I would agree with that statement. But the reason I'm calling is because, you know, being high on life, you realize how far down the rabbit hole we really are. And you've had a couple callers in the last week call in about the corporate fiction that, you know, we are sort of signed into when we're born. And I know you like to talk about solutions, and I wanted to get your opinion on this as a solution, which is, you know, I don't have any kids yet, but I will at some point. You know, I think the only way we can take this country back is if we start at the family and go up. What do you think about just kind of like in the movie The Matrix, like The Matrix 2, Tank said, you know, that there was people born in Zion without the plugs in their head. They're sort of the only natural born people anymore. What about having kids and just having them completely out of the system, out of Social Security, out of birth certificates or the corporate?
I think if you're in an area where you have rural support networks and you can do that, or you can even do that in some major cities, then I think that's the way to go. But you also need to teach them about the system so they have street smarts and are aware of it, or they'll end up rebelling and running to the Matrix. So I think you should show them the Matrix, but absolutely what we really need is people like Morpheus, and that's who all of you are, to go out there and reach out to the Neos, because all of us together are Neo when we break with the system. They want us to all be Agent Smith copies. We don't want that. We're on to your phone calls here in just a moment. Then I'm going to get into all the news we haven't covered that we didn't get to in the first hour. There is a lot of it on the economy, on what's happening militarily between China, Japan, South Korea, forced inoculations in New York, just totally unconstitutional. We're going to be looking at all that. But first off, last night, I couldn't sleep, and I got up, got a drink of water, turned the television on, and I was flipping through news channels, and I saw Obama. I guess he'd just been on Hardball with Slime Matthews, and he was saying, hey, we have a Cincinnati office. It was just streamlining who can be tax exempt and who can't be, new ones, but also old ones. And, none of this was political, and there was no persecution. It's made up by Republicans. Now, he had said earlier in the year, we're going to play that clip in a moment, that indeed he saw the reports and it was wrong. And then Lois Lerner, the head of that division, I think number 3 in the IRS, she got caught lying before Congress, but also took the fifth, but then went on and lied. The fifth just means you don't talk. Doesn't mean that under oath you don't then say, I take the fifth, covering being able to lie. And other sub-commissioners, and we have those articles we can pull up, have admitted that they were told to target conservative groups, libertarian groups, Second Amendment groups, pro-life groups. There's the headline. IRS auditor reaffirms that conservatives, not liberals, were targeted. IRS Inspector General said this week that while some liberal groups were given extra scrutiny by the tax agency, they were not subjected to the same invasive queries as Tea Party groups. Folks, they went after them, in some cases criminally, and then would deny them their tax exemption. I mean, we've seen the press being persecuted. We see Democrats now saying this is the most oppression towards the press they've ever seen. But the issue is, it's like Obama saying, you'll be able to keep your doctor and it will go down to the price of a phone bill or cable bill, and nobody's going to be kicked off their insurance. He said it hundreds of times, in print and on video and in speeches and in the State of the Union. We've played all that. I'm not going to play it again. Then he came out and said, I never said that. And then he said, well, I didn't mean that. I mean, you could keep your doctor if you paid more. No, he said in the same speeches wouldn't go up in price. In fact, it would go down. So it's the same deal where he's now saying we didn't target Tea Party groups. Folks, they target a lot more than that. Every talk show host I know that's libertarian or anti-New World Order gets harassed. All the FBI, all the state police, all the Homeland Security, all the Pentagon training manuals, West Point, you name it. We cover them here every day, new ones, every week. But we talk about it every day. But every week there's something new. You've seen it. I mean, I'd first published this stuff 5 years ago when our sources would send it to state police, FBI, federal marshals, you name it. And people wouldn't believe it. And then the news would call the FBI. They go, yeah, that's our internal manual. You're not supposed to have that. Now it's just, well, big deal. But then separately, because people are figuring out this is persecution, this is how the Nazis started out, politically and using the tax police. That's what the Russians do. It's classic oppression. It's the Robin Hood stuff. What Prince John was up to, historically, that really happened. A lot of the things surrounding Robin Hood is legend, but the real character and what happened is real. The core of it's true. This is how they destroy you, is with taxes, as George Washington said. The power to tax is the power to destroy. And so he denies it. Now here he is a few months ago, earlier this year, this is about 6 months ago, admitting it. And then here he is yesterday denying it. Let's first go to him admitting it. Here it is.
Well, let me take the IRS situation first. I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this. I think it was on Friday. This is pretty straightforward. If, in fact, IRS personnel engaged in the kind of practices that have been reported on and were intentionally targeting conservative groups, then that's outrageous. And there's no place for it. And they have to be held fully accountable because the IRS, as an independent agency, requires absolute integrity, and people have to have confidence that they're applying it.
By the way, the Associated Press reported, and my dad was actually approached by a senior IRS person years ago and told this, and I just couldn't believe it. And so I never even went with it. But then it came out later in the Associated Press that in Austin, it was over $90 million was sent to one address and no one got in trouble. And then it was 80-something million in Atlanta and all the rest of it at one address. And this is the Democratic Party sending money to itself. It's then fenced through to their campaigns and stuff. I mean, they really are a mafia. And again, I'm not glorifying the Republican Party. They're just as bad at certain levels. But, you know, you can't go into a Republican office like Acorn and say, I want to run child sex slaves, and have them go, yeah, that's a great idea. And in Texas, you can go into Democratic Party offices after offices. We played the Project Veritas videos. There's hours of them out now where you go in and they go, we're in a criminal takeover of America. We're going to have the illegal aliens vote. We're going to take the guns, everything. Yeah, that's our plan. We're taking over. I mean, they are a premeditated mob of miscreants. Now, I'm going to go to your phone calls. Jared in Canada, Alice in Wonderland, Sean in California, Mike in Detroit, and everybody. But let's go ahead and play the new clip of him with Slimebag. Let's go ahead and go to Chris Matthews and El Presidente.
You've got an office in Cincinnati, in the IRS office, that I think for bureaucratic reasons is trying to streamline what is a difficult law to interpret about whether nonprofit is actually a political organization, deserves a tax-exempt agency, and they've got a list. And suddenly, everybody's outraged.
501c4 is tricky to begin with. How do you define it?
And by the way, Chris, I'll point out that there are some so-called progressives and perceived to be liberal commentators who, during that week, just were outraged at the possibility that these folks, had been in the direction of the Democratic Party in some way discriminating against Tea Party folks. And, that is what gets news. That's what gets attention. Now, here's what I will say. There are a couple million people working for the federal government. And I remember Bob Gates, my former Secretary of Defense, wonderful public servant, had served under 7 presidents. When I first came in, I asked him, so Bob, you got any advice for me? He says, Mr. President, just understand, you got a lot of people working for you. Somebody somewhere at this very moment is screwing something up. and that's true. And so I have to consistently push on every cabinet secretary, on every single agency, how can we do things better? And we can do things better. Part of what we need to do is reorganize the government, which was designed primarily in 1935 or 45. We could consolidate agencies. We've got to do a much better job.
There you go, folks. Trying to sound reasonable, trying to sound like a fireside chat with everybody, while he's basically saying it's made up that even happened and it was a hoax, and I can't believe we believed it. It's come out in all the hearings that after that first news broke 6 months ago have gotten almost no coverage. And what he's doing there is lying to everyone and then saying someone somewhere is screwing something up. No, it's you and the foreign banks that own you. You're the one trying to screw stuff up on purpose. You're the one bringing us down to consolidate power. You're the one. Now, there's certainly people screwing things up because they're crooks or they're idiots, but this isn't little isolated things. This is organized, premeditated crime. Let's get that straight. Let's go ahead and go to Jared in Canada. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Just want to make a couple points here about and your opinion on something here. First off, Canada website doesn't say we used EU. It says we stopped using it. Doesn't state a year, though.
Well, that's good. I'm not an expert on Canada, but I know a lot of countries are using depleted uranium now as a weapon, and it hurts the people that fire the weapon. statistically almost more than the people they shoot it at, because you don't always hit your target and kill somebody. So you're always breathing it when you fire it, whether it's an Abrams or whether it's a Barrett 50 cal round. You do not want to use DU.
And secondly, Calgary's flood was a total false flag just to drill the soldiers into taking people's guns and getting people to buy water.
Well, I'll say this. They certainly used that flood to go confiscate people's guns. I don't know if they staged the flood. What do you think?
I don't think they staged it. They knew it was coming, though. It happens every year, but just not that intensely.
You know what Rahm Emanuel says about crises, right?
Yeah, they're not to be put to waste or something like that.
Yeah. What do you think about Rahm Emanuel's brother admitting they want to jack up your prices and bankrupt you and the death panels to kill you? That's pretty liberal, isn't it?
Very liberal, eh? More terrorist and other stuff, but yeah. And I want your opinion on something. I don't know if you're able to do this, but I'm an ex-dropout student with stupid student loans on my back. And they diagnosed me with schizophrenia because I was nuts after I went through a year of school, that much stress. And I'm on pills now, Abilify. I'm not too sure if I'm really supposed to be taking them too much.
Well, look, everybody's a little crazy nowadays. There'd be something wrong with you. I mean, you know, if you're not crazy, you're nuts. And you got to watch the people that don't think they're crazy. 135.8 below zero in Antarctica. That's the southern pole, ladies and gentlemen, due to the sun not putting out a lot of heat in a cooling period. That doesn't stop CBS News from running with Santa warns in Greenpeace video that Christmas will be canceled due to global warming. That's why the U.S. is having record cold temperatures as well. We're going to be breaking that down after we take some more of your phone calls. Reagan Advisor says market valuation has lost every anchor to real world. That's coming up. More on the NSA. Obama lavishing himself with the Cuban dictator, Raul Castro. CNN Anderson Cooper hits new ratings low. Piers Morgan almost joins him. Both men are literally in the toilet. At CNN, they don't even clean the walls. The new art form is Jackson Pollock explosive diarrhea. I'm not kidding. Anyways, I told everybody that last January when I was there. And I thought they put me in a bathroom on purpose. It was all filthy. I'm not even a neat freak, but it was disgusting. So I walked over to the other one that they had the Kennedys in, and it was like someone had been finger painting and diarrhea. I mean, I'm not a scatological guy like Karl Rove, folks. I just, when the shoe fits, wear it. That's what's going on. I mean, the place is literally sinking into the ground. Obviously, no one ever cleans it. I mean, it's like a worst gas station bathroom I've ever been in. I knew right then, holes in the carpet, demoralized people. CNN's done. It's over. And it's like the rest of the sinking New World Order trash. Let's go to your phone calls. Alice calling from Wonderland. It is a winter wonderland because of the global warming. Arkansas hit by a lot of snow and stuff. She wants to talk about a huge explosion at a plant. Go ahead. Tell us about that, Alice.
Yes, Alex, thank you so very much for taking this call. Remembering Fukushima and how the official story told to the victims of Fukushima not to be worried that everything was fine, and then we find out later they were lied to and dying of radiation poisoning. We had a report in the morning, 7:45 a.m., about a ground-shaking explosion that happened at the nuclear plant in Russellville, Arkansas. And it said that fire broke out, that one person was killed, several people were taken to the hospital, and they had to shut down completely Unit 2. The story that was given in the morning by witnesses who called in, who said that they were neighbors to the plant, actually felt the ground shaking and saw pillaring smoke pouring out of the plant, gave a completely different testimony in the morning that was removed from the Internet, and then the official story put in, which was completely different. I'm wondering if your listeners could help you by calling in and help us get to the bottom of what really happened, because I don't trust the official statement.
Well, that's true. With all sorts of industrial stuff now, they use Homeland Security rules to cover it up. So if you build a doghouse in your backyard in areas of Colorado or wherever, they'll use Google satellite stuff to come arrest you because of environmental things. But if you want your nuclear reactor, your chemical plant, or whatever the case is, if you're an establishment group under InfraGard, You can get away with bloody murder. So great points, Alice. We will look into that, and listeners can send us any tips at showtips@infowars.com. Thank you, Alice. Let's talk to Sean. No, Mike's up first in the former city of Detroit, now being bulldozed by the federal government, lovingly, of course, though. The rewilding under Agenda 21, Cloward and Piven extravaganza. Mike in Detroit, Rock City. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Good, brother.
I've been pretty much following the New World Order for about 20 years. I love everything you do. I'm not going to kiss your ass, but I just want to, if you could give me a couple minutes on the floor, I got something to tell America, and I got 2 solutions. I got many solutions. In fact, I'm a first-time
Just get into it, brother. We're not screening your call right now. Go ahead.
Okay, here I go. All right, America, out there, listen. I want you to realize movie stars, football stars, baseball stars, celebrities, anybody of any power or money, I want you to realize something. When stuff hits the fan, there's going to be no football games. There's going to be no movies being watched. You're going to be from famous to zero in no time. So just realize that. Number 2, I got these solutions, Alex. First of all, these people out here need to wake up. Understand that John Kerry out there, he is so freaking evil. He's giving us in a deal with Iran. Do your research. Another thing. Here's a solution. Ted Nugent. Okay, he's a deputy there in Texas. Am I right?
Yeah, we're going to have to go to break. I'm going to come back and finish up with you. And we're going to come back in with Detroit, Broke City. Stay with us, folks. That's why we need to buy American as much as we can. That doesn't mean any of us are perfect, and sometimes you won't be able to find something made in America. But by all of us shopping local, all of us going to farmers markets, all of us trying to buy organic, all of us trying to buy locally produced clothing, we will rebuild America if we trade amongst ourselves. It is the big box stores and the big centralized system that has absolutely wrecked civilization and society. And I'm going to go back to, well, the caller in Detroit just hung up so he could finish his solution idea. But I know one of my solutions: support real media that promotes the Bill of Rights and Constitution, and support real media that funds itself with American-made products. Now, a lot of our T-shirts have been made in America, but people don't like paying $5 more because it costs $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $11 because of taxes and regulations. Some of these shirts we're coming out with cost $12 a piece to be made in America. And then we sell them for, $22 to fund our media operations. So to make it all clear, we've launched 1776, madeiN1776.com. Coming next year, we're going to have a giant line of Made in America coats, athletic wear, T-shirts with the Molon Labe, the Come and Take It, the whole 9 yards, coming by February next year, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to have a huge line of only made in America. That means the bronze is from America. It means it's cast in America. It means the cotton's from America, and it's manufactured in America. If you're watching on TV right now as a PrisonPlanet.tv viewer or at Infowars.com/show, you can see, though, a limited run of collectible, exclusive, first-run test of Made in 1776. That's the Infowars Made in America brand, 100% made in America. And, folks, look at this black golf shirt of the highest quality. That baby, even though we bought 500 of them, cost me $13. Okay, you have to understand, I could buy the same shirt for $3 from China, $2.50 from Vietnam right now. But again, they don't have the regulations and control on them. There's a reason they've set it up to be impossible to operate in this country. Well, we just beat them by buying Made in America. It'll shift the free market and bring in more competition, and will actually lower the price. Just like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, organic was 2-3 times what inorganic food was. Now it's coming near parity because people just won't buy the garbage anymore. And sure, there's counterfeit organic and problems like that, and counterfeit non-GMO. But the point is we're moving in the right direction with our vote of dollars, our vote of choices. So you fund the InfoWar. And plus, I'm having fun doing this. I'm designed most of this. My great graphics people, Molly Rogers and Carter and everybody, have helped put it into function and added some of their design. But these belt buckles, there's 500 of each. They're both bronze. One is gold bronze. The other is nickeled bronze. And you can get those 500 of each with George Washington's signature. And it says 1776. The answer to 1984 is 1776. We've got bronze money clips. We've got 1776 pins. And we've got 5 new T-shirts, 1 ball cap, and made in America sewn American flags. And we are selling it to you very close to cost because I'm so sick of Chinese slave-made American flags everywhere. This is a real American flag that you can fly from your house outside that'll last a long time. Big, heavy, old-fashioned American flags made in America. Think of that. It's all available at madein1776.com. When you type in madein1776.com, it leads you to InfoWarsStore.com. But in the future, we are going to have our own big site, and we're going to come out with a whole line of come and take it, Molon Labe, whole 9 yards, Second Amendment stuff. But the first rollout, limited edition, and then you won't see these designs again. They're stamped, by the way, on the back of them. In fact, let me show folks. On the back of the belt buckle, it is stamped 1 through 500 of the nickel, and then you've got the bronze. So it's stamped 1 through 500 on each. Normally, a belt buckle like this would be $100. It's $49.95. All available at InfoWarsStore.com. You can get right to it, or madein1776.com with George Washington's signature. George Washington looking forward. Up on his hat, he's got the Don't Tread on Me snake. This is an original design that Carter and I put together. And on the back, that is 1 of 500 right there, ladies and gentlemen, with the Made in 1776 stamped on the back. So similar belt buckles like this go for $100, especially if they're 1 through whatever. And this is how I fund myself. I don't have David Rockefeller or you know, taxpayer money like MSNBC. Oh, they get money too, not just NPR. We are funded by folks like you. So you can also call toll-free 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And I'm not going to get the number 1 belt buckle. I've got, I think it's number 5 for myself, and it looks awesome with a black belt and a black shirt and Levi's blue jeans and or diamond gusset and black cowboy boots. I mean, you're talking, and people are into belt buckles. They're like, what is that? Because you've never seen anything like this. Evil entrepreneurial artwork. See, we're taking the culture back, ladies and gentlemen. The globalists have taken over our culture, bombarded everyone with garbage, made their tyranny sexy. But I'm seeing pro-Second Amendment come and take its stuff everywhere, all over the country. And we've been putting that out for years as well. So we're coming out with a whole line of that. We've got kind of that UFC-style shirt as well with a really great design. So instead of it all being a bunch of devil stuff, now it's patriot stuff. It's amazing. And when this round is sold out, folks, that's it. It's all collectible. It's all one run. Each time it's going to be a new rollout. Each time, ladies and gentlemen. So this is designer collectibles at a regular price, made in America. Win, 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 win. Similar shirts would be $100. $24.95 for the one that cost me $13 for the shirt. Okay, so there's an example of quality products that we're bringing you, ladies and gentlemen, at madein1776.com. All right, enough from me. I got a bunch of video clips I want to get to, but I want to continue with your phone calls as promised. And then I'm going to get into just a whole bunch of stuff here that we need to cover. First, this Reagan advisor saying the market valuation has lost every anchor to the real world. That's exactly what Max Keiser and others have been saying. He's going to be joining us. But then how is Bitcoin the answer to another imaginary thing? You know, Max Keiser is coming on Friday, and I'm not against Bitcoin. I just got a bad feeling from the beginning. And I used to not follow my gut, now I always follow it. And I'm just telling you, you know, I don't know why my gut says that. I have a lot of reasons, but I don't know the reason. But which one of the reasons is right? But he says, you know, everything will be Farmville, Gulag, Casino gulag. Well, I mean, how could Bitcoin not be a casino gulag where you go mine it and then a perpetual hype machine builds something up? We could have a perpetual hype machine for life extension, or a perpetual hype machine for star bases, or a perpetual hype machine for liberty. And I guess a true cryptocurrency, I like it. I want it to be real. I just don't like that we don't know the provenance. And the globalists have been a little too friendly towards it. I feel a disturbance in the force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master. All right, the cheesy gauge just broke the needle. Let's go to Sean in California. Sean, you're on the air. Welcome.
Thank you very much. First-time caller. I've been listening for about a year, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I wanted to do two information thing and two questions, and do it real quick. I know you're busy. The information stuff is TSA at the International Airport in San Francisco. I'm in the Bay Area up here. They have selected people to go through. Now, my brother, we take him to the airport, and he's white. We're Irish, so we're whiter than white. And they pick him out to search him and to do everything. And they let a family go through that was, I don't know the proper way to say it, you know, they look Eastern and
Muslim.
Yeah, possibly. But,
well, listen, let's just be clear. Think about it. They say we don't profile, which I don't think they should, you know, whole groups of people, but they can profile backgrounds and types of folks that are known to have a proclivity. But understand something here, since you raised this, and this is the key. Well, make your point, and then I'll make my point. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that they said the people that they don't know about already, that when they get a ticket, they already run your name. So the people that they don't know about is the ones that they're going to check when they come through. So if you're in the computer and you're like, let's say, you know, you're in the government and you love the government because you sign up for this and that, and they know everything you do, then they're going to turn around and, oh, hello, Mr. Peterson, as you go through. And they could take the liquids on, they could take their lighters. They do not get searched all the way up into the plane, as to where they take a selective few out of that line and just go ahead and say, hey, this is the way it's going to be. And they're all American, I noticed there.
Yeah, let me break this down for you, and God bless you. You should shoot video of this next time and then put it out for folks. Before I give you my analysis of this, would you like to add anything else?
Well, no, just that the other information thing is that it's a cult, like you say, record cult. Got a person down the street here. They got a ticket, a warning ticket last night because he's burning wood in his fireplace, and they said it's polluting the air because it's a clean air day, and that they go to jail. They gave a warning ticket of $1,400.
Was that in the news, or were you told about that?
No, this is a guy. I go down to the park, and I hang out with the park. With
all right, well, listen, as a citizen reporter, you should go talk to him, shoot video of him talking about it, show the warning ticket. That's national news. They want to stealth implement this. Europe already started this about 15 years ago. Then they banned space heaters. Then they banned single-family homes. This is total, absolute mega tyranny. God bless you. I appreciate your call. I need to do an entire video on what he called in about with the TSA. My dad and mother flew to Europe, where they've been probably, I don't know, 20 times in my lifetime at least. I mean, they go every couple years. So I think they've been more than 20 times. The point is that they went, my dad said it was incredible, flying out of Austin, flying out of the U.S., because they flew, I think, Austin, New York, and then Austin to Atlanta, and then to Europe. That's right. And then flying back, just, they knew who he was. Hello, Dr. Jones, and my mom, his wife, right through. And we always told you this. They're going to grope you. They're going to body scan you. They're going to enslave you. They're going to treat you all horrible. And then, right when the whole NSA debate begins, they're going to roll it out and say, we data mined you. You are trusted. They said this 12 years ago, 11 and a half years ago, when I watched a 2-hour C-SPAN meeting with the new head of Homeland Security at the time, Governor Tom Ridge. And when I watched that, I watched it for 2 hours. They said you're going to have to get TSA approval for a job anywhere. Everything's going to be in a data system. It'll be through the threat fusion centers. Then we're going to have checkpoints on the highways for security and at all major events. And then finally shopping malls, grocery stores, and even random checkpoints in neighborhoods under Transportation Safety Administration regulations. So you have to follow approved regulations that nullify the Bill of Rights, the Fourth Amendment, the whole deal. So I've told people, no exaggeration, probably 300, 400 times, that they would then put in, because they said this at the time, these smart tunnels that lock you in them when you go into them. And at first they said, there's been like USA Today articles on this a few years ago, actually, so it's now being rolled out. And they tell you beforehand, but they spin it like it's a good idea. You'll have three types of travelers. And I'm going from memory. They give specific names, but they say basically the low-risk traveler who almost always just gets to walk right through and is thumbprinted, face scanned, and added to the database and checked. You'll just walk through when they're done. But then it closes behind you to scan you, opens back up. Scans, face scans, body scans, you go out. At first, though, to roll it out, they're going to scan nobody. It'll just be a little kiosk. Oh, you can go right through. Or they're going to direct you into a tunnel to be face scanned, added to your name, confirmed who you are for next time you can fly easy. So they have the low risk, medium risk, and then high risk. And then you actually go into these areas. It locks. And then they have a side door, which they literally disappear you out of for interrogation. So they're basically like the showers in Nazi Germany where you show up and you're going to be deloused and you know what really happens. And so that's what it is total prisoner high-tech induction, and they're putting in the tunnel systems now. First with the exit systems where it scans you, your ticket, who you are, you go out, it closes again, it confirms, lets you go. They're going to have those where your family member, and I already saw this in London when I flew out, they actually had this. For VIPs. So I was supposedly a VIP because I had a better ticket, and the reporter that flew with me was in coach, so she had to go through all the stuff. And in London, they were, hello, Mr. Jones, right through the system, but it's like a hotel counter. But now it's going to be basically everybody, but they'll decide to shut off who they want. And this is how they sell you on the data mining and the slavery. But in the future, they can selectively, oh, we need you to go over here for secondary, even though you've, quote, been screened and they know you're not a terrorist. See how they use, first they put the pressure on, make you hate it, then bring in this new system, but the TSA's still there. Then everybody says, oh, well, I like flying again now. But then they'll bring back in the control. You will watch this unfold. You understand? I know how they work. Plus, I don't have to know how they work. They admit all this, okay? This is a diabolical, premeditated plan. Let's go to Eric in New Jersey. Thanks for holding.
Hey, man. I was just thinking, I spoke to you years ago about this, and I know you've covered it, but the Hart-Rudnick Commission, I printed that out probably about 7 years ago, which now I don't even know if you can find it in any full form online.
Yeah, that's the Council on Foreign Relations Commission that set up the entire police state.
Right, which was essentially the more broad, I guess, globalist version of the PNAC. And
he said, we're going to use this disaster to bring in a new world order. And they bragged that their report, published a year before 9/11, laid out giant terror attacks are coming. And when they come, we're going to radically transform your world. And it was the Hart Commission that I saw on Hardball in July, where they said big buildings are coming down, Army's going to be on the streets, life is going to change. And Matthews, being a big insider, said, thank you for sharing this with me. And they were celebrating on Hardball. Somebody can find that from early July. And then all the pieces fell together because they love to brag publicly. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it just seems to me, I mean, I got a bug about it, and I thought I would go and start looking through it again. And it's blatant when you look at it. I mean, you can use this and show that there was foreknowledge of all this just by showing.
Oh no, we have. So I'm going to come back to you, but you're absolutely right. This shows. See, that's how dumb they think you are. The White House Science Czar, the book's right there. I'll show it to viewers. Wrote a 1,000-page book about putting fluoride in the water to sterilize you, and they'd already been doing it for 20 years when he wrote this. I mean, that's the thing, is they've all written how they did it. Very thinly veiled. In fact, this book's not even thinly veiled. Stay there. Wow, so much to cover here. I've already covered a lot of news today, and I'm taking your calls, and each call brings up another issue of the tyranny they're putting us under. But after I take some more calls, I must get to this in the next hour ahead of our guest. Reagan Advisor says market valuation has lost every anchor to the real world. I've got this fake Santa. That's kind of an oxymoron. They're all fake. From Greenpeace coming out and saying there'll be no more Christmas 2013 because of global warming under record temperature drops. We're going to play that and then play my own Santa Claus joke I shot Saturday concerning Obamacare. And then we're going to get to the latest NSA news. But let me cover this right now briefly. Italian riot police remove helmets, join anti-EU protesters. I think I'm going to shoot a special report for the Nightly News about this, because this is what's going to bring down the tyrants. In Ceausescu's Romania under communist dictatorship, when the police finally didn't go along with the tyrant, that's when he fell in just about 12 hours. Same thing in East Germany when the police and military wouldn't shoot at the citizens tired of the tyranny. When the riot police just took their helmets off and joined them. That's starting to happen in Spain, Portugal, Greece. More and more, the riot police are just taking their helmets off and joining the people because the government is illegitimate. And you don't normally want that to happen because any crowd could show up and, you know, communists, whatever, and take over. But when the government's totally manifestly evil and robbing everybody, that sends a message to the establishment they better knock it off. So we are starting to get to that point in this country with the lawlessness. Separately, here is a report that's just a prelude to the Nightly News tonight with Jakari Jackson and Leanne McAdoo are hosting tonight. Jakari's doing a report on the fact that they're spying on video game players who are playing the collective interactive games where millions of people can play simultaneously, things like World of Warcraft. They're spying on it for terrorists. Turned out there were no terrorists. They're actually recruiting people in there, folks. That's what they're doing in these giant threat fusion centers. Here's Jakari Jackson's. Let's talk to Eric in New Jersey. Thank you for calling in and holding, sir. You're on the air.
Hey, just finishing up on the Hart-Rudman thing, and then maybe another point.
That's right. I should have gotten back to you in the last segment. I forget things. You were bringing up Hart-Rudman where they said we're going to radically transform everybody's lives because terror is about to happen. And then it magically happens and they roll out their entire CFR plan. Go ahead.
Well, I think, I don't know if you guys have the wherewithal to dig in, but, I mean, there's charts there that actually show Homeland Security bracketed out. They show the NSA bracketed out. It's there. It's in picture graphs that any normal person could look at.
Yes,
say,
sir.
wow.
I made 5 films on 9/11, and the 9/11 Road to Tyranny emergency release is online now. It was something that I just did locally and then aired on the radio. It's about 2.5 hours long. And sir, I talked about Hart-Rudman before 9/11, and they said Homeland Security, you know, DHS, TSA, NSA, how it all, everything, it was all pre-planned. And they staged it. And they went on Chris Matthews in early July. I watched it on the treadmill. And they literally basically said what they were going to do. They said there's about to be big buildings attacked. The Army's going to be on the streets. America will forever change. This, and they were talking about a radical transformation in American empire. And it was only a conversation for them and a few other thousand insiders. It was literally guys saying, we're going to rob the bank next Monday morning at the corner of Washington and Liberty. And they were just literally signaling. And then Warren Buffett, with DHS that was already set up actually years before, they had thousands of top CEOs board a plane the morning, told a secret meeting to have them in a hangar when 9/11 happened. I mean, come on. And they got some private message from someone on a Jumbotron. I mean, that's in the news. That was in the Nebraska newspaper. I'm sorry. No, I know. You're saying, do we have the power? Do we have the background? This is the problem. I know all this stuff because I do this 7 days a week. And that's why I'm so whacked out. That's why people go, they call in and go, have you heard 9/11 could be an inside job? And I'm like, have I heard that, you know, monkeys eat bananas, man? I mean, I'm telling you, folks, it's crazy. I'm sorry, go ahead, make your points.
Well, that's pretty much my point. I just think the credibility in what we're trying to do and getting the information is when you have something like that, people 7 years ago say, oh, that's crazy, it'll never happen. Well, now it's happening and it's obvious. You know, and that's after the NSA thing came out, you know, to the general public, you know, there it is. Well, this isn't new. This has been going on. There's one other thing that I think you might think is interesting, having to do way back when with Hal Turner, is I work in a plant that Hal Turner had put out disinfo about it being the next big target. And that place went under super high security. It's you've probably flown over it going into Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you, we went to work that morning. I'm just a construction worker, you know. We went to work, and they had that place. I mean, it was black Kevlar and guns everywhere. blacked out vehicles. The place was on lockdown, and it's never been the same since. They used that threat, which was obviously a fake threat because he was a phony, and totally used it to herd us into that place like cattle.
No, and then that's only a beta test. But let me shift gears just so they can pull it up during the break. What was the name? Because I had it in a binder and would show it on Access TV and show it, on the radio show. That was before I had radio on TV, but I'd read it on air. What was the name of the commission that they put out like 8-9 months before 9/11, where they have all the pie charts and everything? What was the name of that paper? Because they put out a bunch of papers.
Was that what? Who? CFR?
No, the Hart-Rubin Commission of the CFR. It was the U.S. Commission on National Security 21st Century. And it was January 2001. See, I said 9 months before. Yeah, no, I found it. 9 months before. It says coldest temp ever recorded, 135.8 below zero. Soul crushing. Your teeth shatter basically instantly. You die in a matter of minutes. But Greenpeace Santa warns Christmas will be canceled due to global warming. I mean, this is the type of fraud we see. We're going to play that clip and more coming up here in just a few minutes. But let's punch up Drudge for folks that are watching on TV. I want to show them the frozen planetoid there. There's the reality of the coldest night in 18 years in the U.S., coldest temp ever recorded on the bottom of the Earth. That's the AP, by the way. They'll probably have Al Gore go, there is a consensus we're warming. For a decade, at least really it's 12 years. For more than a decade, the sun has been cooling, putting off less coronal mass ejections, as they're called. Sounds dirty, doesn't it? Coronal mass ejections from the sun, the big solar flares. And they know it's the sun that's the main driver of temperature. I will assure you, folks, that's the reason the closer you are to the sun in the solar system, the hotter your planet is. Mercury, that doesn't spin, it orbits the sun, but it doesn't, it itself doesn't. One size of the sun, it's something like, 700 degrees or something year-round. It's something ridiculous. So the whole point is, I will assure you it's the sun. Now, the UN 5 years ago voted to say, at the Copenhagen event, the sun has no effect on climate. I'm sorry, I'm already getting to that now. I'm going to get to that in a minute. We've got our own article up on Infowars.com dealing with this asinine behavior. But it doesn't matter. If Obama and Raul Castro of Cuba say that the Earth is warming and you need to pay the globalist carbon taxes, then it's true. So sit down and shut up. And if Obama says you're not going to lose your health care plan or have the price go up, it's true, even though it's not. And if he says they're not targeting the Tea Party, even though their own documents show they are, then it's true. They control reality. They're history's actors now, to quote Karl Rove. They are in control. Actually, they're not. And their delusion is now wearing very thin, like a balloon that's been blown up too much. Reagan advisor, market valuation has lost every anchor to real world. And it's not just there. It's across the entire board. And let's play this from Bloomberg and analyze the rare truth aired on the Bloomberg TV network. Here it is.
Are Wall Street and Main Street just that far apart as we hear stuff go on about the Herbalife games?
Well, I mean, I think this is meaningless, basically. It's the kind of speculative froth you get at the top of a cycle where valuation loses any anchor in the real world and in earnings and in the prospects of the economy. Take the Russell 2000. That's Main Street companies, small, mid-cap. Trading at 85 times trailing reported earnings. That makes no sense.
So are you saying the equity market's a bubble right now?
Of course.
What do you mean, of course?
Of course it's a bubble. It's grossly overvalued on any sustainable basis.
You would not own stocks right now?
I think it would be very dangerous to own stocks right now or to buy stocks. The S&P 500 even is trading at 19 times trailing earnings reported through the third quarter. In the last 2 years, the S&P is up 45%. Reported earnings of the S&P 500 are up 5%.
All right, then
We've got massive multiple expansion driven by the liquidity injections of the Fed,
boom,
not by the real...
So who's to blame, the Fed or Wall Street? Wall Street is just the player. The Fed is the one who sets the game, and they're the ones who have accommodated monetary policy has hooked these brothers up.
I agree. It's a question of who has taken whom hostage. Wall Street demands that the Fed keep dishing out the liquidity, keep dishing out the monetary heroin, as I call it. They have a hissy fit if the chairman of the Fed even suggests that he might begin to taper 4 years into a recovery. So the question is... It's a codependency. It's a very dangerous.
Yeah, it's total fraud. And the big banks that own the majority of the stock market and control it, they're the shareholders in the private Federal Reserve. So this is like the bank robber being the police chief. And he says, I've decided that we're going to send in a group to rob the bank, and it's okay. And then he sends the police to rob the bank. And then they do it in front of everyone. And then we go, hey, that's illegal and really dangerous and going to screw everybody over. Shut up, crazy terrorists. Well, you plan something violent, don't you? I bet you're going to blow something up. Well, let's go to MSNBC and CNN. Yeah, he's behind the Boston bombing and racist. The fact that they would even say that with no proof, folks, shows how brazen these criminals are. I mean, these are scary people. And I'll tell you right now, I've never seen corrupt dictators and people get this wild with a country this big. And they got nuclear weapons, and they think the whole world is just going to follow this fraud. But then they're not even managing the fraud correctly, and it's all going to blow up, so the elite are all digging in bunkers. Thanks a lot, man. Really, thanks a lot. And you tell me that you've got to take all my rights away because of Al-Qaeda, which you publicly run. And then that's now all completely public. I mean, I am living in the Twilight Zone. This is the Twilight Zone. My wife thinks we live in the Matrix or something. Sometimes I think she's right. Because I can't believe I'm like one of the most prominent people fighting this, and I'm just some guy from Texas. It's all completely clear. I don't want to be in this position. I wish the elite were not completely megalomaniacal and on narcissistic power trips insane. I just want this crazy train to stop. Man, I want off. Because there's always going to be problems and corruption in humanity, but this is just mental illness, man. I used to really argue with top experts that said, look, there's a method to control, a grid, but they're not in complete control, and they're really screwed up, and it won't turn out like they want. They're probably going to blow the planet up. And I'd be like, oh, no, they wouldn't do that. They're so smart. It's easy to make up all these big plans because they've got control of our money and our labor. That's why they look so big and powerful. And red carpets and the whole illusion that they're unstoppable and $10,000 suits and, you know, all the rest of it, and $10,000 dresses and perfect dental work and the best schools. But they're smoking their own propaganda, their own baloney. They're believing their own garbage. And historically, this is really what happens with all the big empires, except now they've got bioweapons and nukes. And it's going to take the elite realizing they're out of control and have their own psychosis. And the public, of course, is pathetic as well. But just because the public's pathetic and decadent, myself included, doesn't mean that you get to blow the planet up because you got in a position of power, social Darwinism. Now, let's shift gears, ladies and gentlemen, to another economic area. Under Obama, troops forced to rely on welfare holiday charity, the Washington Times reports. Top 40% paid 106% of income taxes. Bottom 40% paid 9.1, got average of $18,950 back in, quote, government wealth transfers. The government even calls it wealth transfers. 3 hurt in hatchet attack at East Texas Walmart. Well, the answer is ban hatchets. That's obviously what did this. Now, let's shift gears to the big fraud here. This is a produced piece. I'm not going to play the whole thing from put out by Greenpeace that Greenpeace's own founder said doesn't care about real environmental problems that are out there. And the symphony of destruction, as Dave Mustaine has properly pointed it out with species and things, they just use it as a way to push carbon taxes and socialism. Watermelons, green on the outside, red on the inside. And now you've got Santa in this room like a bunker with a flashing light, and there's not going to be a Christmas, and it's a famous actor doing it. I forget who he is. I just know that's a famous Shakespearean actor. What's his name? And the point is that I actually like that actor. How disgusting. I almost don't want to know what these people are into, you know. Because I admire humanity, you know, for the love of humanity. I like people. Then I found out what they stand for, and they're just idiots. or they're worse. They're parasites. Here he is saying there'll be no Santa. I mean, no Christmas. And, of course, it's a hoax character pushing a hoax. Here it is. And the electricity's off and on.
Dear children, regrettably, I bring bad tidings. For some time now, melting ice here at the North Pole has made our operations and our day-to-day life intolerable and impossible. And there may be no alternative.
All right, that's enough. That's Jim Carter, a famous actor, doing that. Now, listen, folks. The coldest temperature ever recorded, and they've been able to get temperature for what? With thermometers for about 300-plus years. The coldest temperature ever recorded, the AP is reporting 135.8 below zero. Soul-crushing cold. Coldest temperature in the United States in 18 years. In Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen. And then meanwhile, they are telling us that there will not be Christmas because the North Pole has melted. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the exact same garbage where they come out and tell you that polar bears are all dying when their numbers are up fivefold. Look it up. They're running around like roaches because no one will hunt them. Beautiful exotic roaches. I mean, I like polar bears. You know, they just eat. The reason grizzly bears don't go more northerly is a polar bear will just wipe them out in seconds. Most powerful land creature. Can swim, recorded over 250 miles in below zero water. You go, below zero, that would freeze. Not salt water, folks. It freezes a lot lower. Can swim hundreds of miles in sub-zero water. It goes out with one arm and hauls in 2,000-pound beluga with one arm. These guys think they're tough because they can bench press 600 pounds. How about 2,000 pounds or more with one arm? Boom, pull a whale in. They're all dead, though, and the penguins can't swim either, Al Gore says. Fraud, scam artist, scum. And I want him down here every week doing reports for us. He's a lot smarter than I am in many ways, and he comes to work with me every few weeks. He constantly corrects things that I'm saying on air, and you know, Bible verses, you name it, because he's got that young brain like I used to have. And he told me, Dad, Mercury does actually rotate, but extremely slowly. And they only discovered it with high-tech telescopes in 1990. I read that in one of the adult science books or whatever. So we looked it up during the break, and Universe Today does report that it does rotate, but the day is 1,999 times as long as a single year. So I guess it rotates every 58,647 days. And orbits twice during every 3 rotations. So whatever that means. So, but for all intents and purposes, my point is one side's molten and the other side isn't, Rex. But go ahead and correct me on air. That's good. We need you here as a fact checker.
Thank you, Dad. And there's one thing I want to say before I leave studio. I'm not sure that it was discovered exactly in 1990, this new fact that I told my dad about, but I do know that it was discovered after he was in school, or else the school would have taught him that basic information. So
you were guessing that? No. No, it does say since the 90s here. I think you remember that correctly. Okay, well, that's very interesting. Tell us a couple other planetoid facts.
All right. Did you know that that both Venus and Mars have a retrograde rotation, which basically means that even though it looks like the planet is orbiting forward, it's actually orbiting backwards. Another cool planetary...
Let me ask you a question. Do you think Al Gore's right that the Earth is warming even though it's overall getting colder? And then they also say that that Mars has ice caps that are melting a decade ago or so when the sun was actually heating up. They say that isn't connected to the Earth's heating.
All right. I think that Al Gore is a very deep liar. He could say that the Easter Bunny poops out chocolate globules of goodness and that the leprechaun has silver teeth that are manufactured.
Well, that's actually true if Al Gore says it.
Oh, yes. We must honor the great Al Gore. Of course he's wrong. This is like...
Why don't you just do what he says?
I don't do what he says.
So you're not going to submit to world government?
Yes.
Your God?
I don't want to submit to it. And here, let me tell you something, a cool fun fact. Did you know that... actually, in the Industrial Revolution, when there was the most on-record CO2 being released, it was actually the world had experienced a dramatic, and I do mean dramatic, with a capital D, drop in temperature.
That's right, because the soot blocked the sun.
Exactly. It's actually a reverse effect.
How dare you question the king liberals that are bombing everyone and authoritarian. They're liberal. They're trendy. I mean, Apple has the suicide factories. That's liberal. Get out of here, hate monger.
No.
No, get out of racist. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize for that. In fact, in the name of the fairness doctrine, we've discovered that actually the health care plan is a great deal written to help you, not to bankrupt you or make you dependent. It's a wonderful, good deal. I actually discovered it's real this weekend, so here's that video audio report for everybody right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, something incredible has happened. I have actually found proof that Obamacare is real, is free, and is a great deal, and doesn't raise your premiums, and wasn't written by foreign insurance companies to rob people. Ladies and gentlemen, I have found something that proves it's real and not a myth and not a hoax.
It's a mechanical Santa Claus in a restaurant.
And gentlemen.
Santa Claus.
I give you proof, because if Santa Claus is real and gives you free things, and you lie to your kids and tell them that he's going to bring you free things, if he's real, and it's a conspiracy theory to say he isn't, well, then this fake Santa Claus masquerading as the real fake Santa Claus is real, just like Obamacare.
Hey, bring my son back in real quick.
If you say that that's a lie, you are a racist. So here's all his old friends. There's the Tannenbaum. By the way, a Chinese factory did not build the Santa Claus. Obama built it. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, that's good. Rex, do you want to admit now that Obamacare is a good deal and real, Obama doesn't lie, and Santa Claus is real? Do you want to make it better for Homeland Security to know that you love North Korea?
Personally, I believe that...
That's actually where Santa lives, is North Korea.
No. That was misinformation. He lives in the White House, and
We're
Obama
on the march.
feeds him
The Empire's
golden...
on the run.
Obama
Alex Jones
feeds
and the
him
GCN
golden...
Poodle droppings. All right.
Droppings.
We'll be right back. You know what I mean. I love dogs. I love animals. I love justice. But I tell you one thing, man. The shooting starts and this whole deal goes down. The patriots of this country are going to wipe out all the scum. And I don't even want to see that happen, because so many good people are going to be conscripted in to fight. There's going to be so many lies and so many dirty tricks and so many horrible things. If they're able to kick off of a civil war in this country, they're doing everything they can to punch buttons. And we're going to talk about it in just a minute with Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D., who a lot of folks have requested back on the show. I think he's a good guy. He's done good work over the years. I just can't confirm what he's putting out. I can confirm my end of the missing news because I know who the high-level person is. Talk to him. And they haven't talked to us since. We're really worried about them. We're going to have to probably try to go out to the base. They are at the base. They're at the Air Force Base in West Texas, where the truckloads of missing warheads that weren't even supposed to be there got brought out. There was a big freak out, drove them out, so they were going to Georgia. Next you hear it's going to be nuked. I mean, this is some crazy stuff. Georgia, South Carolina. He says he has intel on what Obama was planning. I think because the nukes are missing, we can say anything is on the table and needs to be debated. Because even if the intel Garrow's gotten is wrong, and I'm not saying it is, I just can't confirm it, it's good to debate it so people are aware of it, like the missing Russian nukes. Now, let me just stop right there and briefly remind folks, we are listener-supported here. And just to make things clear and streamlined, I have very few sponsors by design, just so we can bring you the highest quality products. We have great quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply at InfoWarsStore.com. We have the best line of water filters, ProPure, and others at the lowest prices. This special will end Wednesday. And you can still get it by Christmas. Use promo code WATER20 to get 20% off the entire ProPure line of stainless steel gravity-fed filters. 20% off with promo code WATER 2.0. There's no point. It's just WATER20. And you can also call 888-253-3139, and they will give you the special as well on the entire line, from the Traveler Nomad system to the King system. It's all there. It cuts out the glyphosates, the fluoride. The other systems don't do this. It's why I have this system. Other systems have a secondary filter you can use, but it doesn't cut it all out. This is what I choose for my family, and no one has it at 20% off the already lowest price. So InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And I'm very excited in the quest to be able to fund our independent media operation. I had the idea to have a Made in America line, and what I call 1776 Worldwide. And working with Tim Frugier, we developed the idea to come up with Made in 1776. And so with my graphics crew, these designs are a collaborative effort. You see the first belt buckle. There are 1,000 of these, 500 of the bronze that looks kind of gold. And you can't really see it there on the camera. One's kind of a light goldish bronze. The other is nickeled bronze. It's a little bit more. Belt buckles like this usually go for $100 or more. These are $50. And it goes to support the broadcast. This is Made in America, highest quality, solid bronze with the nickel plating, electroplating on one of them. And this is my idea of a manly, serious belt buckle that gets people talking. Who's that? That's George Washington. Not as you see him as an old man in paintings, but as he looked in paintings when he was in command against the Redcoats. And he's looking out with a confident gaze, ready to take on the tyrants with Providence. The answer to 1984 is 1776. There's 500 of each of these. When they're gone, this design will never be seen again. I'm coming out with a whole line I'm designing of come and take it. It's amazing. That will be probably February, March, who knows. And we've also got a bunch of T-shirts. We printed one run of each in each size, and that's it. We're talking high-quality golf shirts. We're talking about also money clips. You're talking about all of it. I love one with George Washington. If you actually click on that white one right there where George Washington is on the front, it says, "I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore." George Washington, it says 1776. And people ask you, what does that mean? You can start up a conversation. A lot of folks will see it who are progressive authoritarians. They will run in fear. They've been taught that is their enemy, that is the devil. So we're making George Washington cool again, folks. If you studied history, there's nobody cooler. I mean, you have to admire Mandela because he was a leader and tough, but nothing compared to George Washington. I mean, you go watch movies like Conan the Barbarian and stuff, and it seems ridiculous, all the exploits. George Washington was in like 20 years of hardcore war. I mean, just frontline battles, leading from the front, just unbelievable. And anyways, we're bringing George Washington back, ladies and gentlemen, because culture is been inundated with all these gross images of tyranny and selling Che Guevara as a hero and all the rest of it. And I got to admire Che Guevara. He did actually have courage and stuff, but he was also a cold-blooded killer, did a lot of horrible stuff, and called folks, the peasants, scum and cockroaches and stuff. So he had a typical communist view of the general public that was disgusting. Not George Washington. He believed in the common people. When they wanted to make him king, he said no. Nobody back then turned it down. And King George III said of George Washington when that happened, a decade, after, or 8 years after the war, when Washington was leaving as president, he said he is the greatest man alive in the world, and put out a proclamation because he could have set up the new dynasty. Everybody back then did that. And he said, no, I believe in these ideals. I'm going back to my farm. That is what I stand for. That's who I admire. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and then others that came along and stood up for liberty. I admire people like Malcolm X, who stood for liberty for people, then got more sophisticated and figured out it was liberty for everyone, then they killed him for it. I admire people that have honor, folks. In fact, we might as well put out a Malcolm X belt buckle or something, but really about the real Malcolm X and why they killed him, not the one that they tried to use to promote racism. because we need to promote people that stood for human liberty. All right, I'm done ranting. I appreciate him joining us on short notice. I'd have him on longer, but he can only come on now. Dr. James Garrow, pinkpagodagirls.com, one of the biggest private groups getting Chinese girls out of the country that would be aborted. I know about the whole adoption system and know he's for real and one of the leaders of that. So he's an admirable person on that front. PhD, Canadian teacher and businessman. And he founded the Bethel Institute in '68, a language school in the People's Republic of China. That's a classic CIA cover. In fact, I privately, when we had him on a few years ago, said that guy is CIA if I've ever seen it. And then publicly he announced that he has been a operational section leader, he claims. He certainly fits the cutout of it. But he says Obama blew his cover. He's a Canadian. And he joins us now. He claims some big medicine on this nuke front. So, Dr. Garrow, go ahead and tell us what you think about our Dyess Air Force Base nuke story. We saw the nuke commanders fired after that came out. There's now a purge. General Boykin and others, major generals have exposed it. Lieutenant generals have exposed it. So there is a bunch of stuff going on. I don't think you're a liar, but how do we know the info you were given is accurate? And then tell us what that info is.
Well, let's talk about the facts, Alex. First of all, we know that on October 7th and 8th, that a nuclear device went off 560 miles southeast of Charleston, South Carolina. That was verified by not only the weather services, of course, that monitor seismic activity, for example, but also Mr. Putin of Russia actually came out and said that if there's, any news coming out of America that suggests that there was an earthquake off the coast of South Carolina, no, it was a nuclear device that was exploded, that was detonated off their coast. So that kind of brings a little bit of international flair to the whole deal. I don't think he would knowingly lie. And the people who have contacted me, Alex, I've known these people for years. They've trusted me with their lives, in essence. And for them to come forward and lie to me, nah, not going to happen. So what we have is the President of the United States ordered that nuclear devices be moved inappropriately, breaching the protocols that safeguard all of us. And you know full well that the hazardous materials, once you get into the radioactive stuff, and then fissionable materials, and then nuclear devices themselves, the multiple layers of protections, the signing off by every single person in the chain of command, the fact that troops are ready on the ground, the fact that aircraft are ready, 40,000 feet in the air, you got F-16s up there, keeping watch over this whole movement so that nobody is going to be interfering either to mess it up, to sabotage it, or in fact steal the nukes. This isn't going to happen. So three general officers, 2 generals and an admiral, said to the commander-in-chief, no, we're not going to do it. And there were a number of things that were coming to bear here. It's not just that these people had minimal amounts of information. They had tons of it coming in. They knew full well that other orders had gone out to prepare the collars. Did you know that the nuclear devices are attached to the rockets through specific collars? And each one of these collars, these are precision made. Fit different nuclear devices, and the particular ones that we're being asked for are not the ones that are the bunker buster style. These were EMP capable, and that was the problem. As soon as these gentlemen saw what was being asked for and saw the orders, the secondary orders that were being issued.
Well, they were reportedly, from best they knew, look like warheads that are used for airburst, which I know can be retrofitted for EMP, or they actually create an EMP, but you can jacket them and cause a bigger EMP. There's CBS News. The night after we brought this out, that same day, he came out and said that nukes in the hands of terrorists could result in bombing to Charleston Harbor. So the thing was, as soon as we reported this, generals are fired. They're talking about nukes. I mean, definitely our source is real.
Absolutely.
But they don't know what was going on, see.
But, here we got Lindsey Graham, who, let's face it, he fumbled the football right away. He just mangled the message. I'm not sure who in the world was talking to the guy, but he ended up looking like an absolute fool. But the basic information about the danger of a nuclear device going off was correct. He was correct in that. But what he wasn't correct in was timing and the specifics of the whole thing. Now, let's get into timing here. Obama knew full well that an event was about to take place that takes place every 11 years. And you're aware that the sun switches its polarity every 11 years. 22 years ago, New England and Quebec, the province of Quebec in Canada, the electric grid was absolutely fried. It took weeks to recover. That was an EMP, a natural EMP, issuing from the sun as a direct result of the switching of the poles. Now, here's the interesting thing. That timing looked like they were bringing together these nuclear devices in order to create the Compton effect, use the Compton effect when you would set off one of these devices 800 miles in the upper atmosphere. You get this multiplier effect through the Compton effect, a scientifically proven principle. But if you add that to the massive EMP coming off the sun at the same time, you've got absolute devastation. And you know, we're not talking devastation of actual property. We're talking about the frying of the computer systems, the electric grid.
Sure, because they're always warning of, notice the last year they keep warning of EMP, where, you know, Iran's going to hit us with an EMP, and we've warned them of an EMP false flag. It does all fit the way they pre-hype it, so when it happens, they say, we told you. And it was like 100 years ago. They had a big natural EMP from the sun, and luckily there wasn't a lot of electricity yet then, but it blew it out all over the world, and really bad up in Canada. And again, because I guess there's atmospheric differences, it gets magnified closer to the poles. And if you expand on this, just from the scientists I've had on, they've described that during a natural solar flare hitting, that's why you have big storms at night when the flare hits over the other side of the Earth, that ionizes and forms particulate. That's why you get big storms out of a clear blue sky in the day, thunderstorms at night if there's a natural EMP. That's all on record, that if you did detonate a high altitude, say 10,000 feet, nuke, during that, it would almost be like a wire mesh supercharging it into everything, and that would be particularly devastating, a super EMP.
Yes, and that's exactly what was going to happen. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I know you're a person of faith, and you know I am as well, and we're Christians. Do you know that for the very first time in recorded history, or as far as any scientist can track, the sun's flip of polarity, it happened in the North Pole, and it fizzled in the South Pole? God intervened.
Really? Do you? Wow. Well, I know that they've been studying it for a long time, and it gets too sophisticated for me to understand. All I know is these nukes came up missing. The people were freaked out. The base won't deny it. I know I'm risking my life even reporting this, and I know you're, you know, an interesting fella and everything, and I don't doubt you. I mean, you saying they were going to go ahead with the EMP during this event that I know goes for an hour or so? Generally, I'm told that it supercharges the atmosphere, or did Graham fumbling the ball and the generals saying no stop them from doing it, if the story is accurate?
Yes, it was, in fact, the two generals, and the admiral who said no and stopped it. In fact, we know that the one device was detonated off the coast, but the other two devices are still missing.
Okay, so it was detonated in the atmosphere off the coast?
No, in the deep ocean.
So they did it to get rid of it?
Yes.
Because, I mean, obviously you don't detonate a nuke in the ocean to create an EMP event. Let me ask you this. If I was Obama and the globalist, I would use a clandestine group launched from a private base, a plane, a drone dressed up to look like a private jet or something to carry the nuke. And then no one would know. It would just be a regular flight line, and then this plane that took off that was drone controlled would detonate. Why would they go through a chain of command in something like this that needs total compartmentalization? That's why I don't really buy it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I believe you were told this. Is because why would they try to go through the chain of command instead of just loading it on a drone passenger jet or a drone private jet or a drone Cessna?
Somebody was in a hurry. And when you're in a hurry, you make mistakes. And Mr. Obama, being the petulant child that he is, you know what he does. It's like you never see it on television. But behind the scenes, you know about this man yelling and almost screaming at people and stomping his feet. You know that this is what's going on. Well, this was
I've had Secret Service basically tell me he is completely insane.
Yeah, and Dan Bongino, talk to him. Talk to him in private, man, because you'll... Well,
Bongino didn't tell me any of that. I don't even want to get into it. I'm just, you know...
Hey, we came close. We came close.
Hillary Clinton rolls around and chews the carpet like Hitler did. And, of course, that FBI agent went public back in the 90s that they do that, and they had, like, crack pipes and Lenin and Stalin and Mao on the Christmas tree. I mean, these are mentally ill people, man. What kind of fruitcake does that? We'll be right back. I'll do 5 minutes of overdrive so Dr. Garrow can finish his points and give us any other info he's got. But briefly here, so many people have taken our proprietary, truly pure nascent iodine, the survival shield, and have been blown away about what it's done to your clarity, your health, all of it. I mean, people have to experience it to know we don't sell baloney. We really try to bring people things that are the answer to the fluoride and all the rest of it. What a gift to give this Christmas, this holiday season, and support the InfoWar. InfoWarsLife.com. We have the fluoride shield with the 6 ingredients, with the iodine if you want it as well, and more at InfoWarsLife.com. Or call if you have any questions or want to order on the phone, 888-253-3139. Now, Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D., who for a long time has been a writer and pundit and, in the alternative media, never said all this stuff, a few months ago came out and said that he worked for secret U.S. government programs in China, and he's on record as a well-known guy in China running language schools and orphanages, which is always a perennial front for clandestine groups, just like the press is and stuff like that. But now he says Obama blew his cover, so he's going public about all this. What else did your sources tell you? Where is all this going? What is the state of the government now? Any other points you'd like to add, Mr. Garrow?
Well, we're in perilous times, Alex. We're dealing with a communist, a Marxist, I believe a Muslim, by the way, as well. And we're dealing with a man who the international community is laughing us to scorn. They know this man. They have so much information on this guy. I've seen some of it. In my dealings with the Chinese intelligence services. I just came off a meeting. I was here only 15 minutes ahead of this interview, but I was having lunch with the ambassador from China to Canada. And we had some very interesting conversation, I'll tell you, things I was not expecting to come up. But, America is in a free fall at the moment in losing your liberties and your freedom. Losing the very essence of what it was that was set up by the Founding Fathers. They're being tromped on, they're being crushed, and that is Mr. Obama. But understand, the man is an absolute fraud. He is a fraud from the beginning of his story to the end. You've been duped, you've been hoodwinked, you've been had, and you've been conned. And to me, it's the most unfortunate thing that the international community is now looking at America, an America that was considered to be a real threat to them. They were afraid of America. When Mr. Bush was there, they were afraid of him because they knew that he would actually do what he said he was going to do, like Mr. Reagan. When Mr. Reagan, the day he took office, do you remember that amazing event where the Iranians let go the diplomatic folks that were being held hostage? Remember that?
Yes.
Do you know why? Do you know why it happened?
Why?
I'll tell you why, and I know exactly why, because I'm the man that took the message. I flew from Toronto to Ottawa, and I met with the charge d'affaires of Iran. They didn't have an embassy in Ottawa at that time in Canada, but they had an office. I took in a message from President Reagan, President-elect Reagan, that indicated that if they did not let go the hostages on the day that he took office, that he would nuke Mecca. I'll send it to you, my friend.
Well, I'd like to see documentation of all this, but simply,
I'll send it.
You need to publish it all, and other things like that. From my understanding, there was shenanigans behind the scenes with the CIA and Iran-Contra, and that they'd basically done the transfer, and that was part of a deal. But I know that Reagan did actually, what was an Operation Praying Mantis, actually did attack Iran. We'll be right back. Here's some of it. Useful Idiots 2013, the real legacy of Nelson Mandela. Obama's IRS nominee promises to restore faith in taxation enforcement agency. That means they'll double down political persecution. Stunning hypocrisy. Obama slams leaders who do not tolerate dissent from their own people. Patriot Act author, Congress are cheerleaders for NSA. Italian riot police remove helmets, join anti-EU protesters. That's big. Google wants microphones in your ceiling and microchips in your head. They say that themselves. Stuff is so incredible nowadays. Christians are being burned alive. buried alive, beheaded, crucified, tortured to death and imprisoned. Big article on that with 1,007 comments up on Infowars.com. Progressives demand fiat rule by Obama. I should have got to that. It's a video report up on Infowars.com. Look, Mr. Garrow, Dr. Garrow, I'm aware of your work. I know you did do this orphanage stuff in China. You did run this language school. That's classic stuff. You're a well-spoken, nice guy. My only issue is, and I believe you're given the intel you think you're saying, but I mean, come on, why would they nuke Mecca when that's Saudi Arabia, Sunni, the big buddies with the U.S. then and still today, and then not go after Tehran itself as a threat to release the hostages?
Oh, I don't think he said anything by not saying Tehran in the message. He was being very specific to what this was about, that this was a religious jihad. Back then you didn't hear that word, but it was being used. It was a religious jihad against America, the great Satan.
So it was meant to be over the top?
It was meant to be exactly what it was said. He said, you don't let our people go the day that I'm installed in office, and we'll nuke you. And look, they knew he was right. He was going to do it. They understood the strength of a Ronald Reagan.
Well, I remember Ronald Reagan making the joke that got recorded about we're going to launch the nuclear missiles in 10 minutes and all that stuff, too. Remember that?
I do. But, we've transitioned from a powerful nation, well-respected and feared, which is the same on the international stage, to one where we're now a bit of a laughingstock. And to me, that's the greatest threat we have. People do not take us seriously. They see leadership as being absolutely weak. In fact, those in the intelligence communities know full well who we have as president, and it's more than weakness, and it's more than a laugh. It's just an embarrassment.
What do you think is going to end up happening as Obama's stock plunges? Is he more dangerous now to stage something, or are they smart enough to back off now?
No, he's more dangerous. The man is a child. And you see who's running the White House. You know that when this man is out doing his fundraising, doing his speaking engagements, reading his teleprompter, you know who's running the nation. Valerie Jarrett. And who elected that Iranian?
Well, I tell you, it's all getting really weird. What's happening with China right now and Japan? Is that a diversion, or are they thinking about starting something?
No, it's a diversion. There's stuff going on in the homeland in China, and you don't know this, but up in the Uyghur region, you've got Muslims up there, and they've been getting. Well, this happens in a cycle almost, but they've been getting out of whack. They've murdered some policemen. And, of course, the troops came in. They've already killed a few hundred. And that's what's going on. So China is, doing this thing with Japan. But, they meet. They actually meet. And under the table, I know that handshakes are going on. That was part of the discussion with the Chinese ambassador.
Sure, they both want political diversions. And actually, It is in the news about the stuff with the Muslims in that region and all that. All right, what's the best website for folks to find out more, Dr. Garrow?
About my work in China, that's really the most important thing to me, www.pinkpagodagirls.com.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Wow. A lot of what he says I know is true, and on record, a lot of it's just really wild, but I guess reality is wild. So I don't know. I'm just going to say my prayers tonight, a little extra for my family, because this world is crazy. And I know those nukes are missing. I know that came from a high-level source who's completely freaked out. Nightly News Tonight 7.